Hey everyone, this week's episode of Tech News Day is sponsored by ExpressVPN. And you're going to hear more about them later, but first some tech news.
If you've done any sort of traveling in recent years, you've probably been pretty happy about the fact that your options for where to sleep on your trip are no longer limited to just hotels. Thanks to Airbnb, you can stay in an actual home, often for cheaper than what it would cost to stay in a hotel.
Especially if you're splitting it.
Everybody wins! Well, not everyone. I mean, for one thing, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that Airbnb bears a lot of responsibility for the high prices and low availability of housing in a lot of major cities, since, a lot of homes that would otherwise be rented out long-term are being used for Airbnb exclusively, and therefore they're off the market, which creates a low supply and higher prices. But that's a pretty abstract macro problem. It's kind of easy to ignore, hard to wrap your head around. Here's an Airbnb problem that's a bit more frightening, a bit more personal, a bit more up close and scary and weird.
Airbnb's got a little bit of a hidden camera problem. I couldn't even spit it out, it's terrifying. An article last week in The Atlantic shed some light on the topic of Airbnb hosts secretly filming their guests. And this shouldn't really surprise you, but a business built around random people renting out their homes to other random people through an app is quite an attractive opportunity for the weirdos of the world.
I would have never guessed.
It's my time to shine.
Yeah.
With cameras getting increasingly cheaper and smaller, anyone with a voyeur kink, an extra room, and no morals can pretty easily spy on people to their heart's content. And there's not really much that Airbnb can do about it.
Back in my day, I had to go out in public with my creepy little camera.
Ah.
I had to be very careful. Now, you kids have it so easy. You just list your house on Airbnb, and you're filling that spank bank up every night of the week.
I used to have to walk around with mirrors on my shoes. It's just that got one guy in the documentary on, I think it was Netflix, where he just
oh God,
was just traversing through the attic of his hotel, just laying there spying on people.
Yeah, and then,
too much work.
To be clear, yeah, this is a tale as old as hotels.
Yeah. It's just a lot harder to regulate when it's people in their own homes doing whatever they want, as opposed to like a hotel like a Hyatt or a Marriott or something who it's in their best interest to make sure that their rooms aren't bugged.
Yes. And yeah, look, there are plenty of legitimate, non-creepy reasons for an Airbnb host to have cameras set up in some parts of their property. You want to be sure that your guests are who they say they are. They're not throwing a big party in your house and ruining everything. They're not stealing, etc. And Airbnb does explicitly allow this kind of surveillance, as long as the cameras are either outdoors or in common areas indoors like the living room and the kitchen. It can't be where anyone sleeps, and that includes living rooms with fold-out beds, and it can't be in the bathroom. They also have to disclose all of this in their listing, and the guests have to explicitly consent to this before booking.
Yeah.
So we're all on the level here.
Of course, like with much of the sharing economy, Airbnb has no real way of actually enforcing these rules until after the fact. And they're very quick to distance themselves from any liability once this kind of thing is discovered.
Whoa, we're just a middleman. We're just bringing people together.
That's basically the story with everyone The Atlantic spoke to about finding hidden or undisclosed cameras in their rentals. Their main subject, a guy named Max, who stayed in a guest room of an apartment in Miami back in January, went to bed on his first night, noticed a tiny little light in the room, and when he got up to examine it, he realized it was two tiny cameras. This understandably freaked him out, so he got dressed, packed up, and left, taking the camera's memory card so he could go take this evidence to the cops.
Yeah, so before going to the cops, though, he called up Airbnb, who quickly refunded him and paid for him to go stay in a real hotel room for that night, which is nice. Good. But also, it felt to Max like they were treating this like just a normal customer service oopsie and not something that felt and seemed possibly criminal.
But it'd be like if you were in an Uber and it got into a severe wreck and Uber's like, we'll send you a new car.
It's not about the car at this point.
Someone's coming to pick you up right now.
Yeah, and that also happens.
Yes.
The sharing economy. It was supposed to change everything, and I guess it did.
So was the internet.
Anyway, when this Max guy got to the cops and filed his report, they responded by accusing him of stealing, since he had removed those memory cards from someone else's home without the homeowner's permission, and it's also perfectly legal to have cameras running inside of your own home.
That's a nice loophole.
Yeah. And then Airbnb told Max that, you took the guy's keys when you ran out because you were afraid for your life, and now you have to personally return those keys to the hosts.
The one that you're accusing
The
of
one, yeah.
voyeurism?
Despite the fact that we've already notified the host that he's under investigation for this, and he knows you're the guy who reported him. Please bring him his keys, though.
That's where you put the sharing economy to work for you, by calling an Uber and telling the Uber driver that, hey, I accidentally took my girlfriend's keys. Can you go drop them off at this location?
Yeah,
Just knock on the door
yeah.
and give it to him.
Yeah.
I've done that before.
You hired an Uber to deliver something?
To deliver keys that I accidentally took from my fiance, and she would have been stranded because I was going to the airport.
No need for you to go with him.
Yeah, what am I doing here?
Nah.
I would have missed my plane too, so.
Yeah, good.
Anyways, another person The Atlantic spoke to named Jeff, he said that he found undisclosed cameras in a rental. He reported it to Airbnb, and Airbnb responded that he in fact consented because the cameras were visible in the photos on the rental listing. I thought those were Bluetooth speakers.
They're in the pictures, sir. You see, if you zoom in real close right here, those are cameras. So, I mean, by booking this place, you said you were okay with all of it.
We thought you were an exhibitionist. Someone who gets off on people watching.
Yeah. Look, we don't judge here at Airbnb. We're just a middleman between weirdos.
Airbnb, great place if you're an exhibitionist.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, they didn't refund him until he wrote a blog post about the whole thing that went viral and made Airbnb look bad. Reactionary. It's always the name of the game. A woman named Noelle found hidden cameras in a rental and reported them to Airbnb, who told her that in order to proceed, she'd have to first personally reach out to the host and ask whether they were actually turned on or not. Not an awkward conversation at all.
So, hey, look.
That's when you call someone from Fiverr and you give them the script. $5, they get around to asking in 3 days or so.
Attention, epic Airbnb host. John Wick needs your help. He needs to know whether those cameras were on when Noelle was staying in your room last week.
Dap. Another guy staying in an Airbnb in Bulgaria found an undisclosed living room camera, looked up the specific device model, and found it could be remotely controlled to pan, tilt, and zoom in order to follow guests around the house, and also that it had a high-capacity storage system. His issue was resolved, but he still wonders whatever happened to that video footage.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, even when Airbnb's like, oh, we took care of it, and they're like, okay, but like, there's probably footage of me possibly naked.
What do you want us to do? We're not Air DVD.
Anyway, just days after that story dropped, a local news story here in Southern California reported on some locals down in Orange County who booked a place that was listed as a romantic getaway, and they discovered that a smoke detector directly above the bed was actually a hidden camera.
Well, now that's a no-no, according to their own rules.
We're gonna take this very seriously. Yeah. You're gonna get your money back. Solved. Yeah, anyway, the next day they confronted the homeowner about it. They called the cops, and when the cops came to look at it, the camera was not turned on. It didn't appear to have recorded anything. Of course, the homeowner could have easily just gone in there and turned it on.
Yeah.
Even if they're telling the truth about all that, this is a listing specifically marketed as a place for couples to come and fuck, and there's a hidden camera directly above the bed. That doesn't happen on accident.
Yeah.
You put that camera there to record people on the bed at your romantic getaway who are probably fucking.
Yes. I mean, who doesn't fuck in an Airbnb? There's so much room. Much more room than a hotel room.
Yeah.
It's private.
Yeah, and you don't have to clean up after yourself.
Nope.
Nope.
There's been plenty of similar stories over the years of people finding these hidden cameras in their Airbnb rentals, and in a lot of cases, the law really hasn't caught up with this phenomenon. One German couple sued Airbnb and their host back in 2015 after they discovered that they'd been recorded for 3 days straight, and the case was eventually settled for an undisclosed amount. But aside from spending thousands taking Airbnb to court for several years, you don't have much recourse if this happens to you, and that's not great.
No.
So, I mean, luckily, see, this is all new, but in California, you have to have consent to be recorded.
Yeah.
And we already have revenge porn laws on the books.
Yeah, here in California, we're like, the law is pretty strong, but yeah, there's a lot of other states where they're like...
Where this is, by the way, there's states where this is perfectly legal completely.
Yeah, like the laws haven't caught up on, like, you know, sharing your house with a stranger. Like, it just doesn't account for that. So it's like, it's your own home. If it's a stranger, like, technically it falls under, like, some wiretapping laws, but it's just, all these laws are too old.
Yeah, most of them have cameras on the outside so they can see people coming and going.
Yeah,
and
good.
That's fine. I would not like it to be even in the kitchen or anything.
No.
It's like, I don't want someone fucking listening to every conversation, no matter how bland or spicy it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing. In a lot of these states, like the laws around video surveillance and audio surveillance are different laws. And sometimes one is worse than the other. It's a whole thing.
Anyways, next time you stay in an Airbnb, take a good long look around the room before you get settled in, or just assume that you're being filmed and act accordingly.
Yeah.
There's like, I've seen like people online say you can do like, if you turn all the lights in the room off and look around with your phone, like modern phones are, they can pick up infrared signals.
Yeah. There's also like, there's like apps you can use when you're on a network to see what
other things
devices are connected to it. I don't know.
But if they're just keeping up a spank bank of 64 gigs of micro SD on there, you can't tell.
It's just like, by the time you get to your Airbnb, you've probably been traveling all day. You're fucking exhausted. You just want to lay down and
jerk off
and crank one out before you fall asleep.
Take a giant fucking shit, crank one out.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, they know. The first day is the most important.
He's tired. Well, speaking of invasions of privacy, remember how a while back Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos had some racy text messages leak showing him very awkwardly trying to talk dirty with a lady who he was dating while he was still technically married. Now, our initial reaction was to marvel at just how bizarre Jeff Bezos' sexting game was, but the story quickly got a whole lot crazier when Bezos published a piece about it on Medium.com, which basically accused the National Enquirer of extortion and had Bezos vowing to have his personal investigators get to the bottom of just how exactly his text conversations had fallen into their hands, since it seemed pretty likely that some criminal activity had taken place here.
I would have never thought that Airbnb in Saudi Arabia would come back to bite me in the ass. Now, it wasn't long before the estranged brother of the woman Bezos was texting was outed as one of National Enquirer's unnamed sources for their article, and many were happy to just leave it at that. But this didn't really explain how the text messages had been obtained. Well, the latest twist in this kind of insane story is that Bezos' lead private investigator, Gavin de Becker, who has a long security resume working with the CIA, FBI, and White House, he's concluded that, in fact, it was the Saudi Arabian government who had gained access to Bezos' phone and obtained the text messages and photos that the Enquirer had gotten their hands on.
This is wild.
Yes.
He doesn't give a whole lot of detail on that claim, mainly because he says he's forwarded his investigation to the FBI, who's going to be handling it going forward. But he does talk a little about like just the amount of research that went into his conclusion, and it's a lot. He talked to a lot. He's been at this for a while, so he has a lot of connections. He's able to, get a lot of insight into this, and it sounds like he knows what he's doing. Because, it turns out when you're the richest man on earth, you can afford a really, really, really good private investigator, and that private investigator can do his job with basically no limits. Anyway, as for the motive here, it's pretty obvious. Bezos owns the Washington Post, and last year, one of the Post's journalists, Jamal Khashoggi, was detained and murdered by Saudi agents in Saudi Arabia's embassy in Istanbul, and this is just a fact at this point.
Yeah.
It happened. The Washington Post, being a fucking news outlet, they have just continued to devote a lot of their resources since Khashoggi's killing to investigating and reporting on Saudi Arabia. So that, if you're gonna silence a journalist, I don't know, you maybe should think about whether or not this is just gonna make more journalists look into you even more than before, because that's what fucking happened.
Yeah.
And I guess they're not happy about it.
Well, meanwhile, AMI, the parent company of the Enquirer, is pretty notorious for being shady in general, but also they have some interesting ties to Saudi Arabia as well. AMI chairman David Pecker is bros with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and last year AMI sold a big glossy ad-free 100-page magazine called The New Kingdom in stores across America, which was widely regarded as basically Saudi-funded pro-Saudi propaganda. More recently, AMI got in trouble when federal investigators found they'd used so-called catch-and-kill tactics to buy exclusive rights to stories that would be damaging to certain individuals, and then just never publish those stories. Specifically, a story about how Donald Trump had an affair with Playboy model Karen McDougal 13 years ago while he was married. AMI managed to escape from this pretty unscathed under the condition that they wouldn't break any more laws. So it'll be interesting to see what, if anything, the FBI does with the info that Jeff Bezos' investigator just brought to them. Don't commit any crimes. Oh, you got me.
Yeah, David Pecker and AMI and the Saudi government, they both don't seem to understand that, like, when you fuck with, rich and powerful people, they don't take it lying down. It's going to make your problems a lot worse, especially when you've already got a lot of scrutiny on you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, fuck Jeff Bezos, but also he's like kind of the good guy in this, which is weird. Like, I'd never pick Jeff Bezos for my team, but if the other team is the Saudi government and the National Enquirer, I'm like, look, never thought I'd see myself fighting alongside of Bezos, but here we are.
Yeah.
How about a friend?
Well, still, again, this is still playing out. Started in January. Probably not going to be over anytime soon. So
well, now that the FBI is involved, it's getting real weird because...
let's just see how it plays.
Because now with the AMI thing, it's connected to like a whole bunch of other ongoing lawsuits that resulted from the election, investigations around that. So this is pretty fucking wild.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where this goes.
But now it's time for a quick word from this week's sponsor, ExpressVPN.
A product Jeff Bezos wishes he used.
Yeah, you might be one of those people that thinks that cybercrime is something that only happens to other people. You're probably not, though, because you watch this show and you know better. You know that every time you connect to a public Wi-Fi network, you're exposing your data to hackers and crooks. Don't be a victim.
Don't be a victim.
Take action. Get ExpressVPN.
ExpressVPN secures and anonymizes your internet browsing by encrypting your data and hiding your public IP address. ExpressVPN has easy-to-use apps that run seamlessly in the background of your computer, phone, and tablet. Turning on ExpressVPN protection only takes one click, and then you're safely using public Wi-Fi without being snooped on or having your personal data stolen, all for less than $7 a month.
ExpressVPN is rated the #1 VPN service by TechRadar and comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So protect your online activity today and find out how you can get 3 months for free at expressvpn.com/newsday. That's expressvpn.com/newsday for 3 months free with a 1-year package. Go to expressvpn.com/newsday to learn more. Get those months.
Link down in the description.
Get protected.
Get protected. Put your online condom on. Speaking of cybersecurity, here's some bad news for patrons of bad restaurants. If at some point since May of 2018 you've eaten at such renowned eateries as Planet Hollywood, Buca de Beppo, Earl of Sandwich, Guy Fieri's Chicken Guy, or any of the other various properties owned by Earl Enterprises, your credit card information may be compromised. In fact, according to Krebs on Security, who first discovered the credit card info being sold online, Buca de Beppo customers were hit the hardest, with credit card info stolen from all 67 Buca de Beppo locations nationwide. Mamma mia!
Why would they do that to so many Midwestern families finally getting to experience family-style Italian meals?
Yeah, it appears that hackers managed to install malware onto the point-of-sale services, or POS systems, at these restaurants and make off with 2 million credit cards. So yeah, I don't know, maybe keep an eye on those credit statements, or maybe eat at better restaurants. I don't know.
It's fine. Buca de Beppo is fine.
Look, the best restaurant in this town before Buca de Beppo showed up was Applebee's. That's all we got.
A lot of people don't have choices, Elliot, and that's fine. And Buca de Beppo is a step above the Applebee's and Chili's of the world. When I take my dad out to a nice dinner when I'm home, my dad and my mom, you know where they want to go? I could have all the suggestions in the world. Hey, saw this on the local news, new Italian place showing up. They're like, why don't we just go to the Cheesecake Factory? They got something for everyone. My dad puts on a really nice shirt and really nice shoes, and we go as a family, and everyone has a great time.
You all marvel at the architectural vomit around you.
Yeah.
You got Roman columns and Turkish doorways.
Just like their menu, their design.
A little bit of everything.
It's a little bit of everything.
Also, don't look at those calorie counts. It's horrifying.
Those might get overturned soon, actually. Yeah. Anyways, in other hacking news, Arizona Beverages, the people behind that delicious 99-cent iced tea, they got hit with a ransomware attack last month, which basically forced the entire company to work with pen and paper for several weeks while their entire network was rebuilt from scratch. Now, the recovery operation is estimated to have cost them millions of dollars, if you factor in both IT costs and their inability to efficiently sell their delicious sweet tea. This whole thing sounds like it's just a matter of not investing enough in preventing this kind of thing in the first place. If Arizona ends up finally raising the price of their tea from the 99-cent price point that it's been at for 20 years, you gotta blame the hackers.
Yeah, thanks hackers.
And bad cybersecurity.
Yeah. So every fucking time this happens, even with like the whole Equifax thing, it's like all of them, it's just, I would love to be a fly on the wall with these IT departments. Knowing IT guys, they know what's up. But it's like they get beaten down by just having their requests denied over and over again. They're like, look, boss,
I can only do what you give me.
Look, we're really vulnerable for this very specific type of attack. Look, well, what are the odds it's gonna happen? Like, I don't know. Not a lot. 1 in 1,000? Sounds Sounds like basically 0 to me. Also, I spilled a coffee on this laptop and it's not turning on anymore.
Fix it.
Anyway, in other quick news bits, the absolute piece of shit responsible for that swatting incident in December 2017 that resulted in an innocent random man being murdered by police is going to prison for 20 years.
Good.
Good. If you need your memory refreshed, 2 dudes playing Call of Duty got into an argument online, and one of those guys reached out to a known swatter and told him to swat the other guy. In other words, call the cops, pretend that a violent incident had happened at that person's address so that the cops would all show up in full force and bust down their door and scare the shit out of them. So the swatter, Tyler Barris, he got right to work harassing his target on Twitter and getting the guy to give him his address, except, it wasn't actually his address, it was just a random address, and that's the address that he got the cops to show up to, resulting in an innocent man living there getting shot outside his front door.
Tyler Barris is also responsible, or believed to be responsible, for a number of other high-profile swattings and fake bomb threats, but this one resulted in an innocent person's death, so he's just an absolute piece of shit all around. And you know what? We hope he enjoys his 20 years behind bars.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the 2 Call of Duty players whose heated gaming moment led to this are also being charged with various crimes and are awaiting trial. As expected, the cop who actually fired the bullet that killed an innocent unarmed man was cleared of all wrongdoing not long after the incident, because this is America. And getting the cops called on you is a death sentence, and we just need to get used to it, okay?
Yeah.
It's part of the price of freedom.
If he didn't get shot, if he didn't want to get shot, he shouldn't have lived there at that random address where the cops showed up to. I mean, guys, I don't know what you want us to do. In some less terrible news, just weeks after Oculus revealed their next generation of VR hardware, Valve has revealed their product that will replace the Vive. And in a pretty surprising turn, unlike with the Vive, which was produced in partnership with HTC, Valve is going it alone this time. Their next headset is called the Valve Index. Terrible name. And while Valve's webpage revealing it doesn't give away much aside from a single photograph and a May 2019 date, they also seem to have accidentally published a much more detailed product page for it, which was of course caught and reposted. From what we can tell, it'll have inside-out tracking, which eliminates the need for external sensors. It'll also feature built-in headphones, which is kind of funny because the original Vive did not feature headphones, the original Rift did, and now the upcoming Rift S will not feature headphones, but the new Valve headset will. Anyways, the Index is set to ship on June 15th, so it'll be interesting to see how much demand, if any, there will be for VR once the next generation is in full swing.
They're coming out, they're doing No Man's Sky in VR. Get
yeah,
ready.
and apparently it's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It's so funny, like that game, I've had no interest in it as it is, but I'm just like, yeah, that would be pretty cool as a VR game.
Yeah, apparently they've done amazing things with the game.
The standards for like what is entertaining in VR are like so much lower than like actual gaming. I'm like, oh, you mean it's just me like walking around on a planet like looking at things?
Sure.
Sounds awesome.
Sign me up. Finally, before we go, here's the latest terrifying robot from Boston Dynamics. Well, technically it's just a modded version of their existing handle robot, but it's still terrifying in new ways. Not only is it huge and powerful, it also clearly is intended to replace human jobs by lifting and carrying boxes faster and for longer than any smooth skin could ever hope to. Behold, this is the future of the warehouse business, and there is not a person in sight.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was also a great video on Reddit on April Fools of a robot that was meant to replace painters for your home. And let's just say,
painters, your jobs are safe for now.
They're very safe.
Yeah, there's also like a big scam. It wasn't even from Amazon. It was some graphic or visual VFX artist in like China, I think.
Oh, the blimp?
Yeah, the Amazon blimp, the mothership with all the drones coming out.
Yeah, horrifying.
Yeah.
Literally Independence Day.
Yeah,
No.
But it's not real, guys, yet.
You just need Randy Quaid to fly his plane up into the side of that
I'm
blimp.
back!
Anyways,
All right, you alien assholes.
That's it for this week's show. Stay tuned for more episodes this week. Check out our other videos over here. We did a whole rundown of all the April Fool's stuff that was hit or miss, mostly miss. But there was some fun stuff in there. Also, check out the latest episode of Weekly Weird News and buy our merch.
It's almost gone.
Their links are down below in the
The
description.
door is closing.
itmerchstore.com. It's your last chance. This week, after this week, it's over. All the designs are gone. And that'll be it. So go buy a merch. Get off your wallet. Bye.
Bye.